Vampires have been part of human folklore for centuries. Most people imagine them as supernatural creatures that live forever, drink blood, and avoid sunlight because some of them shine with it. Uh, Never mind. We have seen them in movies, books, and TV shows, right? But did you know that there are some real cases of people who have been linked to vampirism? Well, some of them believe they need to drink blood to survive, and others have committed terrible crimes inspired by vampire stories. In this video today, we will explore the history of vampire myths and how they have affected the modern world. We will look at real-life communities where people identify as vampires, as well as infamous criminal cases related to vampirism. We will also discuss at the end about the medical conditions that could explain why people believe in vampires. So let's go into it. The story of vampires starts long before modern times. In ancient cultures, there were stories of creatures that drank blood or life force from humans. Oh yeah. For example, in Mesopotamia, people believed in a demon called Lamashtu, who was said to drink the blood of babies. The idea of blood-drinking monster is similar to the modern vampire. However, the most vampire myths come from Europe. Thank you, Europe. In the 17th and 18th centuries, people in Eastern Europe believed that the dead could come back to life as vampires. These vampires were said to rise from their graves and feed on the living, causing sickness or death. Many villages in countries like Romania and Serbia had strong beliefs about these creatures. People would dig up graves to look for signs of vampirism, like bodies that hadn't decayed as expected. Sometimes villagers would burn the bodies or dive a stake through their heart to kill the vampire. The fear of vampires spread across Europe, thanks Europe again, and many people were accused of being vampires. This panic was partially due to the lack of understanding of diseases and how human body decomposes after death. When a body swells or seems to have a fresh blood on its leaves due to natural processes, it might have looked like a vampire was still feeding on the living. The confusion added to the vampire legend. Now, we all know that vampires as supernatural beings do not exist, right? So there are people today who identify as real-life vampires. These individuals claim they need to consume blood or absorb energy from other people to stay healthy. So there are two main types of vampires. We have the blood drinkers team, and we also have the energy vampires team. So the blood drinkers or sanguinarians, wow, believe they must drink small amounts of blood to survive. They do not harm others and often find donors who are willing to let them drink their blood. These communities are careful about how they collect and consume this blood, using sterile tools to avoid infections. And on the other hand, we have energy vampires claiming that they need to absorb other people's life energy or prana, like your ex-girlfriend, to feel energized. They do not drink blood, but believe they can take energy through physical contact or even just being near certain people. Now, these vampires communities are found mainly in Europe. Again, thank you, Europe. You're doing great. And the United States, where they live relatively normal lives. They are careful to maintain a low profile and many participate in online forums and private gatherings to meet others like themselves. One well-known figure in the real-life vampire community is Merticus, a self-identified vampire who lives in Atlanta, Georgia. Merticus has spoken in documentaries and interviews about the modern vampire lifestyle, explaining that it's not about supernatural powers, but rather a deeply held belief in the need for blood or energy. These communities are often misunderstood, but they continue to exist, with some members seeing it as a serious lifestyle. Now, aside from these people, over the years there have been several high-profile crimes where the perpetrators claimed to be vampires or were inspired by vampire stories. These cases often involve people with several mental health issues, as you can tell, but the link to vampirism makes them even more shocking. And I'm gonna tell you about two cases, two kind of recent cases. The first one is Manuela and Daniel Ruda in 2001. This occurred in Germany in 2001, involving a married couple named, again, Manuela and Daniel Ruda. Both were deeply involved in Satanism and vampire culture. They believed that they were servants of Satan and that they needed to perform a sacrifice. So, in July 2001, they invited a friend to their apartment where they killed him in what they claimed was a ritual sacrifice. They stabbed him repeatedly and drank his blood. Now, after the murder, the couple left the scene, but they were quickly caught by the police. During their trial, they showed no remorse, claiming that they were following the orders of a higher power. Both were convicted of murder and sentenced to prison. This case highlighted the dark side of extreme belief in vampirism and Satanism. And let me ask you this, do you have a friend that actually thinks he's a vampire? You'd better be careful with him, or with her, or with the two of them. So now the second case, the Malawi vampire panic in 2017. As you can tell, this happened in Malawi in 2017. Yeah, we know that. So reports began circulating that vampires were attacking villagers and drinking their blood. These rumors led to widespread panic, and several people were accused of being vampires. Angry mobs attacked and killed several people they believed were vampires despite the lack of any real evidence, like in social media, you know? So it's modern. Now, the vampire panic spread across several villages and it became a serious issue for the local government. People stopped going out at night and there were reports of entire communities being abandoned. The government had to send in soldiers to restore order, and several people were arrested for spreading the rumors or participating in the mob violence. This case actually can show us how deeply rooted the fear of vampires can be in certain cultures. And not only in cultures, it depends also on the kind of people that we're talking about. However, there was no evidence of real vampires, like everybody thought. So the rumors were enough to spark violence and terror, and all this happened without social media. So we can take this incident as a reminder that even in the modern world, old myths can still have powerful effects on people. So stop it please. So obviously now we have been talking about myths and superstitions, but there are some medical conditions that may have contributed to these beliefs. Certain diseases and disorders can cause symptoms that resemble to the traditional image of a vampire, shining under the sunlight. No, let's forget about that. And well, one of the most commonly cited conditions is called porphyria. Okay. A rare genetic disorder that affects the production of heme, a component of hemoglobin in the blood. People with porphyria often experience extreme sensitivity to sunlight, okay, which can cause painful blisters and rashes. The sensitivity could explain the vampire's traditional aversion to sunlight. The real one, the one we all know. So forget about it already. Forget about it. In the past, some doctors even thought that drinking animal blood could help them treat the condition, although this is not American treatment today. Oh my god, thank you, doctors. While porphyria doesn't make people drink blood or live forever, it may have contributed to the myths about vampires who hide from the sun and need blood to survive. And there's another rare condition linked to the vampire's behavior, and it's called Renfield syndrome, named after the character Renfield in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Oh yeah, this condition is also called clinical vampirism and describes a compulsive desire to drink blood. People with this disorder may believe that drinking blood will give them strength or health. So the Renfield syndrome is not widely recognized in medical literature and is extremely rare. People with this condition often have severe mental health problems, and their obsession with blood may lead them to harm themselves or others. So it is important to note that this is a psychological disorder and no real need for blood. So I know you love her, bro, but that's not right. Let her go. Let him go. The idea of vampires today is still very popular, and some are really fascinated with them, not only through real life communities or medical conditions, but also in popular culture. Books, again, movies, the good one, no, again, I'm sorry. TV shows about vampires remain popular around the world. Some of the most iconic vampire stories includes Dracula, Interview with a Vampire, and yeah, you know what I'm talking about again. Okay, I'm gonna leave it for now. But why does the myth of vampire continue to capture your imagination? I don't know, because they're handsome. What do you think? Could it be the idea of immortality, the connection between life and death, or the mystery with the unknown? And tell me in the comments, would you like to be a vampire if you had the chance to be one? I don't know if I would be one. I would rather take another superpower, you know. Alright guys, this has been all for this video. Thank you very much for staying this long. If you are still here, you're a superhero. Thank you very much. And hope to see you again in the next video of the Wild Worlds Files. Don't forget to subscribe.